Good to see everybody tonight. God bless you. Thank you so much for coming, and I'm praying that the Lord will meet with us again. I wanted to look at this, at least the Lord helped me sort of see this meeting, that I thought I would rather present the need, and the Lord let each of us know if we need to be revived. And so we've been looking at different indicators. We looked Sunday morning at the coming of Jesus Christ. If we're not excited and looking forward to the coming of Christ, it's a good sign we need to be revived in our heart. We looked Sunday night at the life of Naomi, who turned her name to Mara, going from pleasantness to bitterness instead of the other way around. And if there's an area in our life that it's no longer pleasant, the things of God have no longer become pleasant, it's a good sign that we need revival. We looked last night, and Lord willing, we're going to be at the same passage out of Micah chapter 6. And we looked to see what the Bible said. What does it mean to do justly? If we get to a point in our lives that we're no longer concerned about doing those things of God because it's right, then it's a good sign that our heart needs to be revived. And so we're going to continue with that idea. I don't know what your heart's like. I know mine is, I got to agree with the Bible. The heart is wicked. It's desperately wicked. Who can know it? But we can know our heart through the Word of God. God shows it, and God reveals it to us. And so, however the Lord is revealing things to you, that's the whole point of these meetings, and it's a blessing for my wife and I to be here. It really is. Micah chapter 6, and we're going to read verses 6 to 8. 6, 7, and 8. And so just one last time, because you're going to be sitting for a good 2.5 hours. So could you stand with us here this evening? And one more time, and I'm going to go and read Micah 6, 7, and 8. Wherewith shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before the high God? Shall I come to him with burnt offerings, with calves of a year old? And then this question, will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, or with 10,000s of rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He hath showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. We looked last night and looked into the scriptures and tried to find out a good definition of what it means to do justly. Tonight I'd like to sort of concentrate here on loving mercy. Do we love mercy? And it's a private thing. It's something that we could probably all fake, and maybe we do from time to time, but we can't fake it within our own heart. So let's go to Lord in prayer. Oh Lord, please continue to bless. Oh, how I pray that you'd help me. Lord, help open up our eyes. Oh, I pray the Spirit of God. I invite the Spirit of God to, first of all, work in my heart. I want to be a clean vessel. And oh, how I pray that you'd speak to all of us. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you very much. You may be seated. This is going to be maybe a little bit of a strange sermon, but by now you shouldn't be surprised from me, okay? But we're going to sort of go through a sermon and then sort of ignore the sermon and emphasize the application. How's that? Not ignore, but maybe expound would be maybe more appropriate. I wonder how many people, when they were children, have ever played the game Mercy before. I would bet you and your brother did, preacher. I can imagine the stories you told me, of growing up. Now I don't have real strong forearms or fingers, so I always hated that game. It's two people, and they would sort of clasp hands, and you go, and you try to make the other person do what? Kneel, usually, but they have to yield. And you keep doing it until one says, mercy. And then they kept doing a little bit longer, even after you cried mercy. But, the concept there is that you're trying to find what we would, as kids, mean kids would describe, mercy, and then not quite, one more little push, a little bit more. But that understanding of it's the opposite side of the coin of grace. Grace is God giving us things that we do not deserve. Mercy is God not giving us what we do deserve. And so both of those aspects are really very strong elements in salvation, because I deserve to die and go to hell. That's what I deserve. If I was to look up at God and shake my fist and say, God, how come you don't give me what I deserve? I'd be pretty much a fool. Grace, God bestowing His wonderful favor on me. Why? No reason. I don't deserve it. He adopted me into His family, and so now by His word, He holds Himself accountable to me as His son. But I'm adopted in, I've been born again, but I don't deserve anything. It's God's wonderful grace that He bestows and bestows and bestows. But on the other hand, there are times, and there have been times, both before I was saved, especially I deserved the full wrath of God. And there have been many times after I've been saved that I deserved the chastisement of God, a good spiritual spanking from God. And there were times that I did not receive it, although I still deserved it, according to God's wonderful mercy. Now the Bible says that you and I, what is good? I think everybody would say, well, yeah, these are all good things. But what did the Lord require of thee? If you're going to go take a driver's test, there are certain requirements you have to pass. There used to be a driver's test station way over on the west side of Cleveland on Puritas Avenue. And for a while, we owned a Honda Civic back in the early 80s. And so, those pregnant roller skate, about that size, about the size of a smart car today almost, And so all the teens would always want to borrow our car for the parallel parking. I don't even know if they even do parallel parking anymore. If they do, take a brand new car and just push the button and let it do it all of itself, But anyway, and so I was actually, I had gone, to be that driver, and my sister-in-law, my youngest sister-in-law, Julie, was taking the test in our vehicle, and it's pulled the car up, and there was like 5 others who were right behind her, and they followed each other all the way around, and they came to this, the instructor said, okay, go right back in. We're done. And at that particular place, there was a light, and next to the light was, one of these boxes that just had a lit up no, like this, so you couldn't turn left at the light. How weird is that? That's Cleveland, what expect? And so you had to go to the next driveway, actually, to turn left. You couldn't turn left at that light. And she didn't, but the person behind her turned left, and everybody else went, ying, 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 ying. They all failed because they didn't pass the requirements. Don't turn left where it says no left turn. I mean, that's important to know, although I thought it was rather sneaky. I never noticed it, and I think I had turned left in that place many times. So every time from then I remembered, I'm not going to turn left there, but a requirement. God says, for you, mankind, I have a requirement for you to love mercy. Not use it, to love it. Let me go through some things very quickly. First of all, number one, God is rich in mercy. God is rich in mercy. In Exodus chapter 20, we don't need to turn there, but what is found in Exodus 20 are the 10 Commandments. All right, so, the Old Testament, people will say, oh, the God of the Old Testament, he was a harsh God, a cruel God, a mean God. And they take these things out of context. But, here's one of the commandments. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, thy Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. And you go, whoa, wow, that's scary. And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. God, one of the aspects of his traits is that he's immutable. In other words, he does not change. I'm the Lord thy God. I change not. I'm thankful that God always has been. God didn't look at the aspect of mercy and it started after Jesus was born in Bethlehem. God's mercy has always been rich. The invitation to salvation is there. How about the gift of God's word is because of God's mercy? In Exodus 34, Moses was given those 2 tables of stone. And so he came back down from the mountain. All this nonsense was going on. And he threw them down. He broke them. And the Bible says in Exodus 34 that God wrote them again because of his mercy. What a wonderful thing that God in his mercy gave us his word even the second time, let alone the first time. God, rich in giving us his word. What a great treasure that we have. In Numbers 14, the Bible says that the mercy of God brought Israel to their land. Well, good thing that Israel never gave God any trouble. They were wonderful children, just like all of our children as they grew up. Never got a spanking one time. Oh, no way. You know why? They're sinners, just like their mom. And me. All right. But God, his mercy, brought Israel to their promised land. There were a lot of things that they did receive the chastisement of God. It's interesting. I'm going through a study. I'm not nearly finished with it, but God tells Israel, you have tempted me these 10 times. So between the time that they left Egypt till the time that God said, that's it, all of you older people are not going to the promised land, only your kids. There was 10 different times that they told God no. Do you know how many plagues there were in Egypt? There were 10. I wonder how that parallel may be out of the plagues and the truth that God was revealing even to Egypt, but not only Egypt, also Israel about himself. They saw the plagues too. They didn't receive them by the grace of God, but they saw them. And yet they told God no 10 times. But God in his mercy, remember there was a time that he said, I'm done. Everybody's dead. And what happened? Moses went and he pled for them. Now, I don't think that God said, oh, you know, Moses, you're right. I forgot all about that. That covenant I made by myself because I could find no one greater to swear by, I forgot all about it. I think that was something for for Moses to understand the heart of God. But regardless, in his mercy, he did not give them what they really did deserve. How about the mercy that God let Solomon build him a house? David said, you know what I'd like to do? We hear that. I hear that a lot from retired guys. You know what I'd like to do? And usually it's, followed by something like, I'd like to go up to the northern country and build a cabin and live off the land. We think of something that may be a little bit outlandish, But here's David as an older man, and he's going, you know what I would like to do? Man, I would love to build God a house. He's looking around and he's saying, look where I'm living. Man, I remember sleeping with the sheep. I remember laying down at the doorway of the caves and sleeping and making sure the sheep didn't leave and that the bears and the lions and anything else didn't get in. And look where I am. I can't believe this. I would like to build God a house. And God said, I'm sorry, you're a bloody man. You're a man of war. You've also committed murder. I can't let you do this. But God, in his mercy, let Solomon do it. The mercy of God. God is rich in mercy. The provision of God's presence. God's mercy allowed Israel to go back to the remnant to go back home to Israel after 70 years of judgment. Just exactly the way that he promised. So God is rich in mercy. Number 2, very quickly, we have received mercy. Would you please turn to, I know it's a familiar passage, but I'd like to sort of point something out. Ephesians chapter 2. Ephesians chapter 2. Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 4 says, but God, who is rich in mercy, for his great love wherewith he loved us, even when we were dead in sins, hath quickened us together with Christ. By grace ye are saved, and hath raised us up together and made us sit together in heaven, heavenly places in Christ Jesus, that in the ages to come he might show the exceeding riches of his grace in his kindness toward us through Christ Jesus. For by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus unto good works, which God hath before ordained that we should walk in them. One of the very first messages that's recorded in the Bible that Jesus preached is the Beatitudes. And one of the points of that message is, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Point number 3. This is a big surprise. Are you ready? You better write it down. We are to love mercy. Now, believe it or not. Wow. Okay. Sermon's done. The Bible does say in Psalm 23 that surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Psalm 136. 26 times his mercy endureth forever. James 2 says, so speak ye and so do, as they that shall be judged by the law of liberty, for he shall have judgment without mercy that hath showed no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. I'll take that one phrase, and I think that we can marry these two phrases to understand what does it mean to love mercy. that he shall have judgment without mercy that hath showed no mercy. We are to love mercy. Could I ask you for just these few minutes that are left to try to do something that we find in Proverbs especially, but in other passages as well, where God will try to illustrate a doctrine, a teaching, by making a concept like a person. The Bible has a lot to say in Proverbs about wisdom. Wisdom hath hewn her 7 pillars. She hath done this, she hath done this. And it talks about wisdom like it would talk about a woman. And we can read that and go, oh, okay, I start to get that concept. Now, could we try to think of it in just a few moments here that are left tonight, to try to think of loving mercy the way that we would love a spouse? To love mercy. Maybe that would help us understand it just a little bit more what the Bible is saying. My wife and I started dating in March of our senior year of high school. We dated through college. I knew for sure, I knew it in the depths of my soul that the Lord had prepared her for me and me for her. But I did not know when we should get married. And so I was really praying for the will of the Lord, and I decided, Lord, I'm seeking your wisdom, and Lord, would you help me? I want to know when the best time is. Should we wait until we're done with college? Or should we get married before our last year of college? And I'm asking the Lord to show me. And so I only went home one summer. I stayed and worked jobs and things like that the other summers. But this one summer I went home in between my sophomore and junior year, and I was desperately praying. And so I said, all right, I'm going to, in seeking the will of the Lord, if all 4 parents, my mom and dad, Denise's mom and dad, all good Christians, godly people, have good wisdom of the Lord, if they all 4 say, okay, then I'm going to take that as, all right, then let's get engaged, and Lord willing, we'll get married next year, just before our senior year. So my dad is the first one that I talked to, and my dad, he was the funniest guy in the world. He was like, yeah, go for it, Took like maybe 3 seconds, for him to make up his mind. And I'm trying to like calm him down, and I think he was almost like, go, come on, pushing me out of the house, go for it, And so then next I talked to my mom. And my mom is a farm girl from Missouri, and whenever they talk about those stubborn Missouri mules, I don't think they were talking about the animals only, all right? But so anyway, I remember one morning after breakfast, I said, Mom, I need to talk to you. And so she sat down, and I said, I'm really praying. I know Denise is definitely the girl that the Lord has for me. And I just don't know if we should get married before we're done with college or wait for college to be done with. And my mom said, well, if God can't provide for you during college, what makes you think the Lord could provide for you after college? After I picked myself up off of the floor, I said, so you think it's okay? She said, sure, God can provide. And I thought, I don't know who captured my mother and what alien inhabited her body, but I was happy, at least for that day. And so now I've got 2 more people I need to talk to try to find the will of God. And being bold and aggressive and the way a man should be, I put it off as long as I possibly could. And so one Saturday afternoon, Denise said, I'm going to my mom's shopping. And I thought, oh, great time to talk to Mr. Harris. So I swung by, knocked on the door. He goes, oh, Danny, Denise isn't here. And I said, well, really, I want to talk to you. Oh, come on in. And so, now, in my mind, I had this, Mr. Harris, I'm going to build this great case. But probably in real life, it was like, So somehow I got it out, and he said, well, he said, and gave me a few words of wisdom, and, you know, a marriage is what you make it, and God will provide. You got to always make sure you keep him first, you know, and so, but he never said yes. And so I said, well, you know, what do you think? Do you think we should wait till we're done with college, or could we get married, do you think, the year before college? I promise we'll both graduate. He said, I think it'd be fine to get married, you know, while you're in college. And so now there's only one left. My future potential maybe mother-in-law. Cross my fingers, click my heels, you know. So I said, well, what do you think Mrs. Harris would say? And he said, well, I don't think that she'd mind one single bit. Boom! All 4 checks, yes, you know. So I had already purchased the ring, and, you know, and so already planned this awesome date that we were going to go on. That night, I put off as long as possible, and because I was so scared. And so when I picked Denise up that night and I pulled her out of the driveway, Mr. Harris, they always had the habit of looking out their front door. If it was nice weather, they'd wave whoever it was that was leaving, but especially family. And if it wasn't nice weather, they'd just flip the light on and off, you know, the porch light. And so they're looking out the front screen, and Mr. Harris said, I think Danny's going to ask Denise to marry him tonight. And she said, what makes you think that? I said, because he asked me today. And she said, Richard, what'd you say? He said, I told him he'd be fine. And as I'm pulling out the apron going down the road, she said, Richard, you idiot! There were no cell phones, no way to stop me, and we got engaged that night, you know. So I didn't know that story until, you know, a long time later. But now, I loved Denise, and I love her more every single day. And I wanted to spend my life with her. And I was praying that I could convince her to do something exceptionally stupid, and she would spend her life with me. Now, because I loved her, we did not want to be apart from each other. And after 43 years, she is absolutely my best friend. She is the best Christian that I know. Please do not ask her if I'm the best Christian she knows. Please, you won't come to church tomorrow night, all right? So, but she is without a doubt the best Christian that I know. And so I love her, and we love being together. And this time that we've had, just 3 things real quickly. We don't like being away from each other. If we are going to love Mercy, we would somehow want to intertwine our life with Mercy. Do you get the picture that's here? I'm not saying that we should use Mercy. I don't use my wife. Well, you know, it's a cheap cook, you know, so don't have to pay her very much, you know. I'm not using her as a chief cook and bottle washer, you know. It's someone that I want to be with, and I don't like being without. Can we say about Mercy that in our heart of hearts, I'm not saying do you get along. I'm not saying do you cohabitate. I'm saying in our hearts, do we love Mercy? Mercy is so wonderful. Mercy, whenever I involve Mercy in my life, what a difference that it makes. This is a great question. What a great picture here in the Bible to love Mercy. If I came in here tonight, or we were talking at a meal or something, and I was to say, Oh, brother, you realize it's been 44 years since I've taken somebody else out on a date? Man alive. You know, it just probably breaks the heart of every woman in the United States, the fact that I'm not available to date them. Man, what a bummer. There's only one person I'm allowed to take on a date. Oh, brother. Would you think I should actually be speaking on marriage relationships in a good way? Do you think wouldn't you begin to wonder, I think there may be a problem. If I'm complaining, the only person I can ever be romantic with is my wife. I mean, wouldn't you think, then I think God thinks whenever we don't really love mercy, we're around it, use it, we understand it, but, it's not really a big part of my life. I think that's an indicator we don't love mercy. Oh, wait, let me get back up. We love mercy for people to give it to us. I don't know what that preacher's problem is. Man, doesn't he know that I worked overtime every day this week and I'm only home almost 9 hours is about all every day. Then he expects me to come to church. What's his problem? We want mercy from other people. But to love mercy. Here's another aspect about loving mercy. If you think of mercy, maybe as a spouse, you want to never be separated from them, or secondly, you choose to join with them for the rest of your life. Your life now has become richer and fuller because now you two are one. Have you ever thought about us being one with mercy? In other words, we love mercy so much that it's just second nature to give it, not to take it. We always love that, but to give it. Can we really say we love mercy when, and I know we drive to the same exit on the highway, and 3 out of 5 days, that same person is begging for something at that exit, and 3 out of 5 days we're always disgusted? I'm not saying whether we should or shouldn't give, and somebody have money and go buy drugs. I'm saying, can I say I love mercy when I look at anyone else and go, that's disgusting? Now, we may do that with sin. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a terrible thing to teach in school or something like that. But when we're looking at people and we think, they are disgusting, I wouldn't waste my time on them. Is that indicative of somebody who loves mercy? Now, I understand wisdom is different. I understand using wisdom and those things, but mercy. You know what she said about me? Well, I'll tell you one thing. I know a lot of things about her that I would tell you that make your hair stand on end. Can we really say we love mercy? Yeah, but you don't understand. They really did me wrong. So in other words, they deserve some sense of justice. Yeah! But they still can receive mercy. Yeah. Isn't that the whole point of mercy? Don't we deserve terrible chastening from God? And many times in His mercy, didn't we just read a verse that says, why would those who receive mercy expect mercy if they don't plan on giving it? To love mercy. We're not talking about, all right, you put up with, try to be a Christian, you do right. We talked about that yesterday, to do justly. This doesn't have near as much of a performance idea as it does an emotion idea. The thing that only we know sometimes, unless our emotions are really visible and other people find out because of our big mouth. Something we know. There are some pastors who can be very harsh and almost seem to be cruel to their church members. And then if they mess up or do something stupid, they can't understand why nobody gives them a break. Because they've never given anybody a break. There's some husbands. It may be months since they've ever said anything kind to their wife. And then if they mess up and don't pay the electric bill or something, they're like, man, come on, get off my back. But we don't show mercy because we don't love mercy. Has nothing about the doing, it's the affections. Do we love mercy? It's not always, I joke around whenever I say this, but the first few times I ever had to spank my son, I was scared to death, and I never wanted to do it. And then it got to the point that I sort of looked forward to it. Right? No, that's not true. But honestly, you do understand it is for the best. And whenever you read the verses, it says a child left to himself is going to cause shame to his mother and father. And, he that spared the son, spared the rods, hateth his son. He that loveth them chasteneth betimes. That means early and often. And I got to tell you, my mom and dad loved me very, very, very much. But the mercy is in the heart. Do we love mercy? Yeah, there's going to be times that we're going to have to say, well, in spite of loving mercy, this has to be done. You have to understand your consequences of your action. And we can still love mercy. I believe in many of our churches, we have so many angry dads that they're chasing their kids away from church because all they are angry. They're angry about everything. And it just seems to drive the children. Fathers, provoke not your children to wrath. If that wasn't something that was an easy thing to do, God wouldn't warn us against it. We wouldn't look it up and go, whoa, provoke not your... Do you know anyone who's... I have no idea. Hey, do you know? No. It's been 3,000 churches. Nobody can find anybody. I wonder why that's in there. Or I think it's in there because we do it 3,000 times. But to love mercy. Lastly, the last thought of marriage is to allow that person to be so close to you that they affect you the most. To be so close that they affect you the most. We could leave here and you may tell your friends, I'm so glad that short idiot is gone. Man, I could not stand that guy. We could leave here and the pastor could say, and that's not going to bother me that much. We could leave here and Pastor Knopp could say, we're glad that you came. We'll probably never ask you to come back. I just want you to know. And okay, it won't bother me that much. But there's somebody in this room, if she said, you know, did you study the right amount of time you needed for that message? That would affect me a lot. You know, that would bother me. And maybe it needs to be said, please don't. But, you know, maybe it needs to be said. She loves me, and so she's going to be honest. I don't think I've ever asked her what she thought of my sermons, and it's been 43 years. I don't want to know. I'm afraid I'll quit next week, you know. But there's one person that everything she thinks of affects me deeper than anybody else. Are we going to love mercy so much that it really affects us? When we don't have that instant reaction of mercy, it should bother us. No one would know except us and God. But isn't that what revival is all about? Our heart being hot for God, being so close to the one who is all light. In him is light and no darkness at all. That the closer we get to the light, the less darkness we're going to see and have in us, because we're going to want to purify ourselves. To want mercy to make us different. I don't know if you really understand what is going on, but I just want to say it anyway. It's election season. Most people may not have picked up on that, but you know, it is election season. And election season is not normally the time for mercy. It is a time to point out someone else's faults incessantly, whether they even exist or not. You know, but we're going to point them all out. And I fear that maybe sometimes in our Christian homes and in our churches, it's always like it's election season. Boys and girls, brothers and sisters, tattletelling, always trying to get somebody else in trouble. They get to laugh when the other one gets in trouble. Ha, 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 look what happened to you. And God doesn't like that. We don't like that as parents. That's why God tells us, vengeance is mine. Because we can act like toddlers too before God. Good. Glad that deacon got his comeuppance today. And God says, no, I don't like that. Because we don't love mercy. This element of mercy just intertwines into kindness and truth and helpfulness and even cheer. Listen, the harsher we are in our heart, the less joy we're going to have. He has showed thee, O man, what is good. Yeah, this is good. And what doth he require of thee? But to do justly. Not do mercy, but to love mercy. This is something so private, and I don't believe many times we are people of mercy, that we love mercy. It can't be shown 100% of the time, because then there would never be justice. And justice and mercy, they need each other in order to present what it actually is. But to still love it, to love mercy, what a difference it would make in our lives. Are we people, if mercy said, will you, would we say, I do? To love mercy. Wow, this is I think there's this concept that just permeates into so many different areas of our life. Our affections being tempered with mercy. It increases our patience. It increases our joy. When we give mercy, we're able to walk away sort of like, hallelujah, God's so good. It changes us. It helps us, not just the people we show mercy to. I could go on for a long time, but do we love it? Oh Lord, I think of my heart and the basement of my heart, maybe to say. We try to furnish our rooms and we try to take care of this, but way deep down in the basement where the furnace is, a lot of times our heart is cold because we don't even think about having mercy. We don't love mercy. We'll tolerate it. Sometimes whenever we really want to make a grand gesture, we'll incorporate it. But to be people who love mercy, I think that there would be such a difference in the whole attitude of our homes and our marriages and our churches if we really love mercy. Our heads are bowed here this evening, and as we have each night, in just a moment the instrument will start playing and we'll have a time to answer the Lord. What is the Lord speaking to you about? Again, if I was to say, raise your hand if you need to do better for God, all of us can put our hands up. But I do believe that almost all the time God speaks to us, it's in specifics. So what is the item? If God is dealing with your heart, what is the item He wants you to settle? He wants you to face. He wants you to accept. He wants you to change. I don't know what it may be for you. I sure do know what it is for me. Let's take the time to respond to the Holy Spirit tonight. Let's please stand and the instrument will begin to play.